So Peter wants to say, talk about how everything should be free. Yes. The current world economic dictatorship is presented to us in a simple sentence. There's no such thing as a free lunch. But now Peter's going to tell us a shorter sentence. All lunches should be free. Yeah. Please welcome, join me in welcoming Peter.
I was thinking originally of giving a talk entitled "The World Needs a New Religion," but I wasn't sure if this is the right audience to so do this one instead. Right, first of all, I must make it plain that what I am not going to do. I'm not going to talk about economics or politics. This is not economic or political theory. Throw them all out the window. They are no good to you whatsoever. So I have at home, like many people, and probably some of you here, a little thing called a freedom pass. Now, they could have called it a free pass, but it's called a freedom pass. And I think there's a good reason for that. Whether that was an unconscious decision or not, I don't know. But basically, to my mind, there is a direct and understandable relationship between things being free and the feeling of freedom that you get from it. Right. So, how do you talk about this? It's a very vast subject, obviously, and I'm going to try and break it down and give it to you in snappy little chunks, a bit like a house of cards. And so, first of all, you have to cast your mind way into the future and imagine a day when everything becomes free. It's not going to work like that, even if it happens at all, but there we go. So if on the day everything becomes free, what are the consequences of that? What has to happen as a consequence of that? Well, the first thing that happens, of course, is that all jobs which are directly concerned with money disappear from view. So there's immediately, you can see I've wiped out vast industries already, banking, insurance, accountancy, you can go on from there, related industries like security, which is basically looking after all that money in the first place. So there you are, there's a few million jobs have gone already, which is nice. Then there are sort of consequences arising out of that, such as, with all these jobs no longer being done, there are going to be loads and loads of buildings all up and down the country which are now redundant and no longer needed, or we could make use of them in other ways. And they're all attached to the services, and they're full of computers and carpeted. We can do lots of good things with these buildings, redesign them. I believe there's something called a housing crisis, so that might help to alleviate that to some extent. Then there's transport. We basically chuck away loads and loads of fossil fuel every day by transporting people to and from these stupid jobs every day, and so we can make huge savings on transport and maintenance costs on the roads and railways and so on. So I'm hurrying through this, you can see, quite quickly, but I'm scything through the whole working population here, which you may think is a good idea or not. But there was a recent programme on the radio where the premise was that something like 65 to 70% of the working population hate their jobs. Now, they had no way, they had no way of responding to this. They couldn't cope with the idea. Because basically we're talking about 20 million people in this country alone hate their jobs. How do you cope with a situation like that? Unless you recognise that it's structural. And they were talking about square pegs and round holes, and maybe we ought to do something about the management system, and maybe you need lots of, I don't know, mindfulness or something like that. So I don't think any of these are going to cope with 22 million people. Now, strange enough, and that's a recent programme, and but it's a figure that I've had in my head more or less around that 70% of the population who are doing what I call worthless jobs, or stupid jobs, let's call them that. So it's not surprising that people hate them. Right, where have we got? Yeah, so we've wiped out loads and loads of stuff. Now let's talk about climate change for a moment. Now I think it was 2007 when the UN first put forward the idea that global warming and climate change was actually a real phenomenon, and it was probably related to human activity. Being a simple soul, a quick calculation in my head says that if this is so, and if you want to start dealing with global warming, climate change, then you need to find ways of cutting down on a lot of this human activity. But you see, I've done a lot of that already. So all these people doing all these useless jobs, and you could be doing, basically you could spread the work out. Where have I got to? Yes, another thing, crime. Now, virtually all crime, 99% of crime is about money. So you've got these two vast industries, crime and law and order, which are part of the same package, which are largely unnecessary. You can imagine a drug dealer going around handing out free drugs. Somebody might think that's a good idea, right? It's not likely to happen there. So we come now to, I'm nearly finished actually, because I want to hear what your responses are more than anything. So me rabbiting on here. Let's take this back into the home, into the family. Right now, I would imagine that there is a large input into family disputes, which is about money. So we have as a consequence of that, we have this large industry called the child support industry. Okay, so you got basically, mostly of course it's women and children who are trying to get money out of husbands and partners who run off and don't want to contribute to the family, and then you've got this child support agency trying to get the money off the men and give it to the women. Of course they take their cut on the way. So you've got this huge thing going on, which is just this great triangle of aggravation all round. There's nothing to recommend it at all. So I'm going to finish in a moment and talk about, one thing that will disappear, which will delight everybody, is taxation. Yeah. So all forms of taxation, income tax, council tax, inheritance tax, VAT, wiped out overnight. Now that sounds quite a good idea to me. Hey, I feel I'm getting quite a good response here. Yes, finally, just a couple of little things. One, I'd like to mention leisure. Now, sport is a big thing in most places in the world, and one of the most popular sports, of course, is football, known as the beautiful game. So then the question becomes, would the beautiful game become more or less beautiful if all the money was taken out of it? Leave you to ponder that one. And finally, the final thing is, there's loads and loads of other things which I haven't got time to go into. The final thing is, of course, that all work becomes free. There you go. No questions?
Thank you very much. There may be questions.
Oh, all right.
To this visionary.
Yes.
Outside the world of politics and economics.
Yes.
I think it's probably a good place to be.
Yes.
So please, questions again, yourself.
wouldn't good products disappear as well? If nobody had a job, where would good products like good clothes, good cameras, what or who makes a good product, and how would you know? We'd end up like Venezuela, where there's no products at all. Wouldn't we? Who would actually make a good product?
Well, we need somewhere to live. We need clothes. We need food, and there's
who would do it then?
Well, that's the question.
Well, robots.
Well, okay, the technology can be quite useful.
But who makes the good product? Or haven't you thought of that?
Well, why would you make bad products?
Why would you make any product? It would be a robot. You've got no test mechanism for what's a good
product. Why
not?
You can have people who can check up on whether the goods are useful or not.
What's the definition?
Well, there's a job. Checking up. There's a job. Is Adam Smith's invisible hand, isn't it?
Okay, can I just try to introduce a little bit of order into this? I take your point, but Adam Smith is in the realm of economics, and we are deliberately outside the realm of economics here. So, please, yeah. And then you had a question, or no? Okay,
assuming that people did still continue to work, like to produce like food and houses and clothing and stuff like that. What would incentivize them to continue doing that? I mean, would they feel that they deserve some kind of recompense for that?
Well, of course, this is only a question that can come from a man. Why would anybody work for nothing? Don't ask that of a woman. I think there's quite a lot of women do a lot of free work. Do a lot of work for which they don't get paid. Sorry? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.